Hi, good afternoon. My name's Andrea Rodich-Vitek. I'm an elementary principal in Val Verde Unified School District, which is Southern California. I'm also our CSPP program director. And Jean, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so also my name is Genie, the CEO and co-founder of Learning Genie.
Before we get started, we're going to be, if you have questions during the presentation, you can go ahead and drop it in the chat, and Daniel's going to be monitoring those during the presentation. So these are the topics that we're going to go over. I'm going to do an introduction to PTKLF, and we're going to talk about standards alignment and how it's aligns with Common Core state standards. We're going to go over some key PTKLF domains. And one of the domains we're going to dig a little deeper in. One of my favorite new domains is approaches to learning. We'll talk about classroom integration, and then Jean will wrap up with the unit planner, which is, if you haven't had a chance to be in one of his sessions or hear about it, it's a game changer. So I look forward to hearing from Jean about that. So introduction to PTKLF, and I probably should have explained what that meant. It's the preschool TK learning foundations. And for many years, we've had the preschool learning foundations. And in July, CDE released the PTKLF, and it's for preschool and TK students or teachers to follow. It's going to be, right now, we're just kind of exploring, but for the upcoming school year, it will be what is required to be in the CSPP classes and the TK classes and other preschools to follow. So with PTKLF, I'm going to go over the organization of the framework, and I want to highlight how it promotes diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and then just go over the guiding principles. So if you are familiar with preschool, these might look very familiar to you. There's only a couple of changes. There are, this is the learning and development of children from ages 3 to 5.5 years old. So if you think about preschool, they can start as early as their 3rd birthday, and TK takes them sort of to like their 5.5. So it's encapsulates that. And there's 9 domains, but one of those domains, which if you see the language and literacy development, it has that text box around it. They break it up into foundational language development and English language development. And if you're familiar with the previous foundations, all of these are kind of duplicated from before, but that approaches to learning is an added domain. And then this is just kind of an overview of how it looks when you're going through the domains. You can kind of read at the top, there's a strand, which is that overall topic. So for this, operations and algebraic thinking, if you are an elementary principal, that should sound familiar because it's the same language that is used in Common Core. And then that substrand, so in this case, number operations. They use the word foundation instead of standard, which is what we use in Common Core state standards, because the CDE asserts how the foundations, like that, for a house, that foundations is necessary for future learning. And then the age range, that's another change from the previous foundations. So you'll see that it has 3 to 4.5 years, and then 4 to 5.5 years. And I really like that because before with TK, some of our older TK students weren't captured with those learning foundations, but now we're capturing from 3 to 5.5. And there's also that overlap between early and later, which we do see in our students that are kids do progress at different levels, and so there is that overlap sometimes between that 4 to 4.5 year range. And then what I am really digging about the foundation are the examples that are given at both the early and later foundations. That has been just, I love it because if you are familiar with DRDP, that is something like if we're going to have to capture these measurements, that this gives you a lot of good insight on what to be looking, those look fors with those foundations. How are we doing with the questions? Are we good? Okay. So again, I just wanted to highlight diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. At the site that I work at, we have a lot of students with disabilities. We have our students that are coming from the regional center, and we have the preschool assessment team here. So if you're in special ed, you might be familiar with the Part C to Part B transition IEP that we have to have. And my focus as an administrator has been about inclusion. And so it's really beautiful how those components are baked into the learning foundations. And it's really all about that cultural and linguistic diversity, looking at our multilingual learners, you know, working in California, our students we have so many different languages represented, and then our children with disabilities. And when Gene gets to his live session, and with my familiarity with unit planner, his unit planner kind of helps me understand this component of the learning foundations, because there are sections where with the weekly planning level, it talks about DEI best practices and then incorporating those culturally responsive practices. So I just love that that's the tool of Learning Genie, includes that to help with how we are working with our students. So just a little bit about cultural and linguistic diversity. This is something that CDE is making known during the Learning Foundation, that our children's development, it's just that importance of family and their culture, their race, language, and life experiences. When I'm going to show you, they give specific cultural practices and experiences that children draw on to make meaning. This is another CSPP thing. We're going through this transition where we have to go from ECHRS to class, and we're looking at our language and the concept development. And so our kids making those meaning makers, they have to be able to make those connections. And so again, the foundations are really beautiful how they have brought those examples in to support our students. And the enhancements to instructional practices to support children's learning of English for both social and academic uses. I've been in education a long time, and when I saw that, that just reminds me of BICS and CALP, where we have that the basic interpersonal communication skills, and then those more the academic language, which is that CALP, and it does provide, there is value in children being able to communicate in both settings. A little bit more about multilingual learners. It's elevating children's home language, which I think is really important for our students. You know, being multilingual is a superpower. And the language and literacy domains have examples of 13 home languages. I was going through it and I was just like, you know, Cantonese and Mandarin and Farsi, English, Spanish. There's just a lot of different representation in there. And it's important that we as educators recognize the value that children's home language brings to the classroom. And then I took a screenshot of a few examples. So for example, Foundation 1.2, which is under physical development, balancing emotion. A child switches positions without losing balance during quick moving games such as hopscotch and lukorchuri, excuse me if I mispronounced that, hide and seek in Bengali, and games that require freezing in place. So if you're doing like DRDPs or you're collecting observations to see if a child has that foundation, this, I love how they are providing those examples. If you look at the one below it on self-identity, it talks about during story time, the teacher reads in both English and Cantonese. A child comments, I like it when my older sister reads to me in Cantonese. So that's showing that student is developing their self-identity, which is part of, you know, becoming a 3 to 5.5-year-old. Cardinality, which that makes me think of Common Core state standards with our kindergartners, but we're starting here in preschool and TK. When reading the book Señorita Mariposa with the teacher, a deaf child counts the number of butterflies on the page using sign language and communicates 7 butterflies. So making sure that we include students with disabilities and how they can, you know, show what they know. And then there's another example. This is from language and literacy. And it's having a child explain that they understand and use words for categories in Spanish. So we're able to, you know, we're able to see that kids show what they know in their home language. And just with just a little bit more about children with disabilities, it talks about inclusive learning and incorporates the universal design for learning. And I wanted to just point out again with the, what's it called? With the Learning Genie, sorry, the unit planner, there are text boxes in there for each activity that talk about UDL. So it's part of it's helping the teachers, so it's kind of taking away off their workload and it's provided to them. So this one, it talks about how in the foundations, they have person first language and identity first language. So I was able to take a snapshot from language and literacy where it says a deaf child signs an American Sign Language, the story of Little Red Riding Hood. And so that's that identity first, because, you know, in the deaf and hard of hearing, how it is identity first. So being cognizant of those different aspects. And then these are the guiding principles that I'm just thinking as an administrator, all of these can be, you know, you can have maybe take on 2 or 3 at a time per year while you're building that capacity of your teachers. So, I mean, I have lots of favorites, but learning through play, that is something that has been big as my tenure as a preschool director, is that we want kids playing. We don't want them sitting there doing worksheets. That's how children learn, is through play. And then now looking at the link between PTKLF and Common Core. So if you're coming from the elementary school world, if you're coming from the elementary school world, which I was an instructional coach in elementary school for 9 years, and I was there at the, you know, as we were transitioning from the 97 state standards in California to Common Core state standards, and doing a lot of these crosswalks with my teachers. And, you know, so I've become very familiar with Common Core state standards. And then I went into being the principal of the school that I'm at now, and having this unique setup where we have state preschool, we have special ed preschool, and I also have TK at my campus. So, you know, trying to kind of marry the two, and having that elementary brain that I've had to you know, evolve into more of that P3 lens. And so I do really appreciate how the PTKLF, it aligns to Common Core state standards. So I think for some of our teachers coming from kindergarten down to TK, or first to TK, or whatever the case may be, they're going to understand the organization much better. There are shared goals and objectives. The focus on developmental milestones, I think, is more made clear in the PTKLF, but we are looking at kind of that progression of skills in Common Core state standards through the grade levels, thinking about ELA standards, how you can kind of track those standards throughout. And then the alignment with college and career readiness. And when I talk to the managers at the district level, talking how we are getting our kids college and career ready. We have those 4 C's where we're collaborative, we're communicative, creative, what am I forgetting? Critical thinkers, and then also that flexibility. And so we see that every day in our preschool classroom. There is a standards-based approach, but remember, the key is we don't call them standards, we call them foundations. It has those clear and specific learning goals. The research, I mean, if you're a research person, it is chock full. There's so many footnotes in, and I'm learning so much, and it kind of gets me off on a tangent where I'm trying to learn more about all these things that are being referenced. I already talked about that skills development, thinking about how things progress through the grade levels and Common Core state standards for language and literacy and mathematical understanding. And then it's very clear that it's for inclusive and equitable education. Coming from California, knowing about the students that we serve, we need to make sure that all means all, and that's our multilingual learners, our students with disabilities. All of our students deserve to have this, this great early learning experience with preschool and TK and beyond. And then there's professional development and support. There's just so much to go as a leader looking through this and thinking about how building capacity of my team and how and then also at the district level with all of the TK teachers that we serve. And there are key PTKLF domains. This is something that I'm going to exit out of here and go to this Google Doc that that Learning Genie created. I don't know, was it Daniel or Gene that created this? But I really like it because it kind of shows you where you can get the most bang for your buck out of rolling out the PTKLF. And are we sharing the Google Slides after?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
We'll send an email with the recording and all the resources.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it talks about like the foundational language development. Remember, I talked about the domain of language and literacy is broken into 2. So that foundational language development, right now, science of reading is in vogue, and I know everybody's kind of jumping on that and trying to learn more. And the PTKLF is in alignment. That's my background. My master's is in reading, and it is in alignment with science of reading. The thing that was added, it's on DRDPs, but it was never part of Learning Foundations, is that approaches to learning. And I have been spending a lot of time with, this is why play is so important, because this is approaches to learning just has such a huge effect on all of those domains, those developmental domains. Social emotional development is, key. It talks about that building self-awareness, forming positive relationships. I just see kind of focusing on those 3, to me as a preschool director, that would make my elementary partner principals' life so much easier if they're coming in with those 3 things. And then of course, math, those early math skills that are going to help them, because Common Core state standards, let me tell you, I have a son that's in 6th grade and he's doing statistics right now, and it is such a struggle, but we need to make sure that we're starting off with the foundation and we're not teaching them like tricks, that we're actually doing the mathematics, and that starts at this level. And then of course, English language development for our multilingual learners. There's science, and a lot of the science we can do through the language and literacy. Physical development, coming out of COVID, I think like I'm seeing a lot of impacts, and just with our kids' gross motor development, they're not knowing how to climb up on the playground, that crossing the midline is not happening, their coordination, and all of those things have such a big impact in other areas. And then health, history, and visual and performing arts. So we are hitting all of those areas of child development. And I've kind of been focusing, to be honest, on the top three, because that's kind of, this is what's making the biggest impact with my program. So just a little sneak peek on those key domains. And then talk about approaches to learning. So with approaches to learning, again, as mentioned previously, they were in the DRD, or they are in the DRDPs, which for anyone not in the preschool world, that's the desired results developmental profile. So desired results has several components. It has like a parent component, but it also has the developmental profile, which we in preschool and now in TK for I know we have to do this for our students with IEPs, and some districts have decided to have all teachers do DRDPs for TK. It kind of depends where you're at. But as a state preschool program director, our teachers have to do DRDPs for every student. And so approaches to learning has been part of the DRDPs. And I know there was a comment about releasing new DRDPs, and that's to come, but right now we're using the one that we've been using. So I just want to talk about the organization of that and how educators can support. And then also, just like everything else in the PTKLF, the component about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So in ATL, they have these main strands, which are motivation to learn, executive functioning, and goal-directed learning. And then the foundation statements are the skills that the students are going to be able to do, and then that impact on future learning. And so this is something that is so important, because our students, you know, using play is going to, it just impacts all of those different areas. It's their motor development, their language, their math, science, all of those things. So creating opportunities for play, imaginary play in there, and that could be in the dramatic play center during free play, or it could be outside. I was outside today with the kids, and they were playing, and they were pretending to do, and I'm forgetting right now on the spot, but I just thought it was so cute that they were pretending something was a phone that wasn't a phone, and then they were just like having to give the phone call to somebody else, and it's just so much language was coming out of that. Games, they specifically mentioned, and I was like, oh, people still know what Simon Says and red light, green light is, because that was something from my childhood I remember playing. And it is very important that, you know, we incorporate these simple games with our students. And since I know I have a lot of early childhood admin in this webinar, setting up the environment, that's like the other teacher for early childhood. And so making sure that there's hands-on exploration centers, and that you have consistent routines. Our students should kind of know when they're coming in that we're going to do hand washing and restrooming, then we're going to do meal time, then we're going to hand wash again, and then we're going, you know, circle time, and they kind of know what that day is going to look like, and that's going to support those approaches to learning. And then the collaborating with families, interest survey, we do the ASQs here, and I'm using a lot of terminology, but we kind of will know kids that are coming in that maybe have elevated scores when it comes to their social emotional learning. And so we need to know, like, what's going to be a good transitional item? What's something that's going to help them? Do they like stickers? Do they like snacks? Do they like they want to hug? Do they not want to hug? So knowing those things about our children are really important. And parent meetings, having those on a consistent basis is very important, and making sure that we know that it's that cross-pollination, that it's not just us giving them information. We need to learn from them, because they are the child's teacher as well. And so just that back and forth conversation, I think is really important. So the diversity, equity, and inclusion piece in ATL, it talks about how initiative looks different depending on different cultural backgrounds. They talked about how students from Indigenous communities, they look at initiative a little bit different than maybe, you know, myself or other cultures, because they engage in housework and caring for siblings and elders. And so they might be students from indigenous backgrounds, maybe they might take initiative to help in those certain situations. And with multilingual students, depending on their background, what does initiative look like for that culture? So that's specifically outlined in the PTKLF. And then just looking, they talk a lot about support staff, and you know what's been huge for us is working with our speech language pathologists, working with OT, adaptive PE, physical therapists, and talking to them about how do we make sure that our students are able, no matter what their anything that's a barrier that they have, how do we get rid of that barrier so that they can practice these skills as well. And then this is my, oh, I didn't enter a subtitle. See, oops, sorry. So I was just kind of going through some practical strategies as an administrator and wanted to share them with you. So first one is keep it simple, silly, or KISS. With making these types of changes with PTKLF, it is going to be a lot. If you downloaded the PDFs, there is a lot of information that it's not something that I would necessarily send off to the print shop and just give your teachers the books, because it is, if you give them all those volumes, they're probably going to freak out. So looking at starting slow, like last year, one of our things that we did is looking at visual supports, because that supports all learners. And then thinking of how that's going to, now we're looking at how is that going to help with PTKLF? UDL is our focus this year. I feel like my teachers have been doing it for a long time, but they didn't have that language. And so building that common knowledge to make sure that we can support all students, and so they can have access and show what they know in different ways. So not trying to say, here's all the volumes of PTKLF, have fun, you know, like keep it very simple. Assessments and again, I'm preaching to the choir, but making that transition from having them do like paper pencil to observation-based or portfolio-based assessments. And that's what's really beautiful about the PTKLF, is because they give so many examples on how to see if the kids are able to do these different skills. And I know when Gene gets to his live presentation of learning Genie, I'm sorry if I'm doing a spoiler alert, but it just makes it so seamless with learning Genie, because you can we use it at my site with the DRDPs, and the unit planner, it's not two separate things. You're not having to do things twice. It's all right there, where it's like, here's what we're teaching, and then you have the different whatever you're trying to collect data on, and you could push it right into that student's DRDP. So it's like, you know, chef's kiss with the observation piece. I do want to say, as a person that's, you know, huge on science of reading, I would say it's really important to have some kind of screener that you can do throughout the year. So we are using PELI, which, if you're familiar with Acadians, this is the early literacy indicators. And we do that at the beginning of school in August. We're going to be doing it in December, and then towards the end of the year, like April, May. And that just helps us see, that's like the only time we're actually doing a little bit of paper pencil. It's in book form, but it's like we're seeing if they know their letter names. It has a phonological awareness piece. There's an oral comprehension. There's a vocabulary piece. And I just like to use this because it's showing that what we're doing is working. And I think that's going to be really important for a link to the assessment you're using. Yeah, I'll put that in the chat when Gene starts, when Gene takes over. So yeah, the PELI it's just been something that we've really used to help create goals as a PLC. And then focus on play. That's been when I first started here, like, it's my 4th year. There was a lot of sitting at the table and the kids doing like their journals, writing their letters and their numbers. And, you know, with 3-year-olds, they don't even have that grasp yet. And I was like, we need to stop doing that and we need to focus on play. And it's been, you know, it's a transition. It's hard, especially if we were told to do something differently before. But looking at all of those areas during the day, circle time, it should be interactive. Free play, is it free play, or are you having the kids take a timer to the center? Looking at outdoor play, looking at mealtime, like all those different times, and looking at it and making sure that the focus is on play, on language development. The centers, creating invitations during centers. If you're doing a unit on, what did I do one on? Like on, shoot, I can't think right now. On bugs, for example, do you have something where they can, that will help support that learning, to build that language so that they have that background knowledge and that vocabulary that's going to help them in the future. Also, as a leader, PLCs, professional learning communities, that's something that I've been part of all the way through my teaching and instructional coach and as a principal. This has been something that I've had to change to adapt for preschool and early learning, because a lot of PLCs, it's kind of, the people that made it were DeFore, he was a high school administrator. And so there isn't a lot out there for us, but it is very important. Like my PLCs, they meet every week for 45 minutes. They're talking about best practices. They're talking about data. They're talking about what are we doing for our kids that are struggling with behaviors or language. And, you know, with the new PTKLF, it's going to be really important that they have time to process that and look at those examples and see how they can make that work in their, you know, own setting. Something I did last year, which I swear is the smartest thing I've done since I started, is that we mix our gen ed and our sped teachers together in PLCs, since technically everybody's, you know, for my preschool teachers, they're all preschool, but you can't have 20 people in a PLC. It doesn't work. So we have 5 to a team, and it's either 2 gen ed and 3 sped or vice versa. And that's been really powerful because they learn so much from one another. And then also giving time for preschool and TK to collaborate for that vertical articulation, looking at the way the foundations are set up with that 3 to 4.5 and 4 to 5.5. There needs to be that time, because we do have kids that maybe they are in TK, but they're a younger TK student. And so how does that work in that CSPP setting? And then the importance of support staff. I don't know if it's just preschool support staff with our school psychologists, our SLPs, adaptive PE. That's just, our assessment team is very special, and they have so much knowledge and so much just the supports that they provide. But we have to lean on them, and not to do the work for us, but to support what we're doing in the classroom. And so that's been really huge, is to have our support staff be part of this, you know, the learning that we're doing together. And so those are just some helpful tips that I've done with, you know, kind of getting this out to my teachers. And so I'm going to stop sharing, because the next is the unit planner.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrea. So I'll take over from here. So really, PTKLF is very new. I'm currently at the conference. CD is presenting the new PTKLF, and more trainings will be coming. But we are also presenting here in a conference regarding how to navigate new foundations with ease. And just like what Andrea has shown, we want also also have a very interactive session. I want to build something together, and also using more like a mimic of a classroom. We have 18 participants. We have 20 people, and would like to have you guys mimicking a classroom with a student voice being there, and also how to help a teacher to build a foundation, build new foundation into the lessons. Okay, and then we can all do that. So just to want you get you so what this Learning Genie AI unit has also been being validated, right? It's through as evidence-based research from Johns Hopkins University. So get as tier 4, which is more like P212 program. They need to have a valid way, right? The AI is very new, so we went through that, and so next spring we are going to have a tier 2 research results. But before we jump on that, we want to show you the interface. This is our unit planner. So we are going to work together to have a unit name, which is your idea, and then we will work on this description together. So if you can put in your like any idea you want to bring, okay. So just we are mimicking. Okay, you're in the classroom. We have lots of training kids, right? So you just want to learn something, right? Learn a special topic. We want to gather your idea first. Then we will vote for the most popular one, right? And then we are building description. We're building guiding questions together. Okay. I'm going to share it here. So anyone can help me chime in here. Any big topic idea? Oh, yeah, I've just copy paste. Okay. Community helpers. Okay, thank you. Do we have more? Okay, animals and their homes. Okay, so we have thank you. Interesting. I'm not allowed to copy over. Okay, so we have 2 contribution for the time of sake. For community helpers, animals and their homes, which one we favor? Do you if the type 1, we go with community helper, and type 2 is animals and their homes. Okay, want to get more people to vote. This is more like we're mimicking a classroom setting. Okay, so kids have the idea, we will vote for one, and then we can build. Okay, we have well, it seems like okay, well, we have lots of tools. Okay, we will define. Okay, we'll go with the animals and their homes. That's animals and their homes. Okay. So next thing is about teacher child-led. Okay. So about the question you want to learn. Okay, you want to learn animals in their homes. What do you want to what a question you want to ask yourself or want to learn? Do you have any? We're building the guiding questions from from students. Can we contribute any questions? Okay, where do coyotes live? Okay, that's a guiding question. Okay. Okay. The bears live. Okay. Okay. The animals live like we do. We have a couple more. Do they have homes? Okay. Okay, so that's good. How do animals this? Okay. All right. So that's okay. So here probably you can actually can't have more, but let's just get started. So we will use this as a topic. Okay, we're just mimicking if we don't have more. So this will be animals in their homes. That will be the main topic, and then we will build these guiding questions. So you can polish that better, but let me just use okay, please build a unit based on following questions. Okay, the pace. Okay, so here now we are getting into just for example TK units, TK classroom. Okay, so we have TK classroom. Here's a new foundation we've been loaded, so you can actually specify a standard. So just Andrea share with you. We have the new domain approach to learn. So a lot of good executive function, right? So you want to building, those are the foundational functions. So you can have working memories, multiple managing, maybe just managing attention and distraction, and also like, oh, maybe curiosity learning, but also you can do multiple, also different, the foundation as well, standards. So you can build more towards building vocabulary, or you can do science of more foundational literacy skills, right? And maybe blending sounds rhyming. You can also add like math. So it's more like you have a scope and sequence. These are the standards you want to bring in, but you can build into very fun, like it's just student choices. Okay, so I'm just clicking for you guys. Supposedly, okay, teacher, you for all the educators, right? You have a scope and sequence. You can refer to that. We are also able to do more localized. So so here we are in Carlsbad. So I would just select our the headquarter Carlsbad. Okay. So we just do this animals and their homes with a basis on in the Carlsbad. So I want to show you here. So this is a more like a assist. So you are able to build a one sentence description, ideas, any books you want to introduce, also environment, right? You have a play center, you have a virtual tour, or you maybe go to a library. You want to do some special setting, you can also put here. But also a big part is the student voices. How you can open that to students, right? What they want to learn, how to they build their questions. So here we just use the last part, and we go ahead to generate. So it's more like this is more like a tool, we're building with all the foundations, but also trying to champion child-led, right? Student-led units. Okay, so we can make it bigger. So in this unit, children will explore the fascinating world of animals in their homes. They will learn about different habitats, how they build, find their homes, and the ways these homes help animals survive and thrive. We'll also introduce special sample from the local environment in Carlsbad, fostering the connection. Okay, so what really the concept we will be exploring? This is such as animal habitats, living things, adaptation, the diversity of wildlife. We'll especially look at where animals like coyote, bears, and elephants live, and how their animals create and find their homes. The unit will also touch on similarities, difference between animal homes and human homes, emphasizing the idea of shelter and safety. So these are built based on students' voice, right? Student like, oh, what are they curious about, right? So the skills we will develop, right? More like observational skills, critical thinking, sense of curiosity about natural world. They will practice asking questions, making predictions, and drawing conclusions based on their observation and the information presented. Additionally, children will engage in creative activity involving building models of animal homes, enhancing their fine motor skill and spatial awareness. The principal strategy the teacher use a hands-on inquiry-based approach to learning. And the activity will include natural walks. They can building this to observe local wildlife storytelling. So, but if you don't have a ability, you can just remove that, right? You don't have a, can include, we don't want to include the natural walks to, can include just the storytelling, right? If you don't want to do that, you can change that. Teacher in the loop. The teacher will integrate multiple sources as video pictures to show that real world. And also we have a component for social emotional development. Children's social emotion will be sort of through collaborative activities that encourage teamwork, communication, group objects, and the discussion will help children develop empathy, respect for living creatures and their environments. Okay, storytelling, role playing. What other things they can do? Literacy, science and arts. Okay, a big also here the concepts animal habitats, adaptation, shelter, local wildlife. Those are the new concepts we want to introduce from this unit. This AI pick, but we can also teacher can add it. So these are the these are the questions, okay? Literally mimic what students' questions coming from, the different animals, what the difference between them and their places to live and how they build and find their homes, right? How they material they are using. Are they similar to our own homes? Those are the questions we ask. And also, lastly, we want to focus on local, right? Carlsbad, local wildlife. It can be your own city, your own area. So we like it. If we don't like, we can also update. So I change or anything like we don't want a field trip. We want to maybe add something else. You can let it regenerate. Or if we like it, we can go next. So here you are going to see the alignment with the standards. So still you're able to, so more like you can build the idea from student voice, right? But aligned to the standards. So here we go further, we are exploring, showing like exploring animal homes. So in the first week, children will dive into the world of animal habitats, learning about various environments such as forests, deserts, and ocean, grassland. We explore how different animals include local wildlife like coyote, like Carlsbad has coyote, beautifying their homes and the material they use. Activities will include hands-on exploration, interaction, discussion, and creative projects to help them to concept and shelter. So these are the foundation. We have a second week. Okay, so if we are trying to, we can always like change the path if we want to do different layer. They can for sure they can do. But we can go next is another layer. Okay, just go a little bit deeper. So help to explore. Okay, if we are building 5 lessons, right? 5 day. So what does that look like? Um, um, so here are the foundations, but we are able to like, the discovering forest home. So it's more like a forest, but next one's a desert. And then we can do oceans. So it's covering grassland. That's actually what show in this overview. But if you change that, it can reflect what you really want to focus. You don't want, you may only want to focus on the ocean, right? That's fine. But here is where you can see all the foundations still listed. You are able to update and change. We can add like working memory into that. For example, if you have a scope and sequence, you do want to focus on certain foundation or certain standards first, you are able to do. But here it's more like the description, like always starting with a book, read aloud for the TK, and then with a story to lead. So if we like it, we are able to generate detail. So it's more like layer by layer. But so we are trying to unpack, right, the foundation into something like it's not just you need to, we can it's a lot of new things. The teacher can by learning by doing, right? Learning by doing it, exploring it. So this is the first lesson we created. So actually it will start with a book, right? Ocean over in the forest, come and take a peek. And with these are the materials needed in the classroom, and also vocabulary, and also here the implementation steps. But we actually introduced the sources and also book. So typically we will have a book like a preview. You can preview the book. We search that from the YouTube.
Over in the forest, come and
The
take a
teacher
peek.
can select if they think it's relevant,
That you can
right? If it's relevant, they are able to use, and they can also play in the classroom if they want to also share with family. But one thing I want to highlight is the teaching tips for standards. So being said, okay, Andrea, I just identified, right? So PTKLF is a connection from early learning to the K, right? Common core. So a lot of new learning from both sides, right? So it's good, right? So it's a bridging. How to learn, right? So these are the foundation standards: or curiosity, of interest, understanding of using vocabulary, reciting numbers, or working memory. So actually, I think I just very quickly identified some, but you can see how AI is supporting that. So basically, how to teach a curiosity and interest, right? With the context of this lesson, while reading over in the forest, pause and ask, what animals do you see in the forest? To engage curiosity about different animals. Encourage children to explore the simulated forest habitat, describing what they see with magnifying glasses to enhance detailed observations. So use that to as an example, right? The teacher can use those tips during this whole class activity. You can use these tips. For example, working memory, where it's more like retrieving data. So ask children to hold 2 counting cards and use them to count animals in the habitat, reinforcing memory by recording numbers. Or during the activity, have children remember and count specific animals, maintaining focus on multi-step counting tasks. So those are. Oh yeah, she's bringing over.
She's gonna bring it down.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes. Yeah, so this is more like you can show like teachers are able to support like what you don't have to learn all the foundation, but when you learn, you can adapt into the lesson, then you will be you can learn from doing. So here are the UDL part. We really want to focus on UDL more supporting IEP students with a different syndrome. We want to show you here is more like we are building more like generic, okay, how guide the student with a clear, simple instruction and demonstrate how to pair the cards, right? So that's more like a specific to this lesson. So give more time for special ed teacher and a general ed teacher prepare time, right? They can review this lesson together. They can prepare anything like they can provide the prop or provide some environment. Yeah, so I will show you, maybe actually can be adapted in a real classroom. Your own kids with different IEP needs, they can be adapted into their own own support. Okay, each child have their own support. So give a very clear clarity for teachers when they are using like UDL, how the practical steps for them. But also we have the cultural responsiveness, and then they are bringing the similar idea like for animals like in US, but also what does it mean like in Latin America, in China, right? Do they have a similar concept, and then can we bring those cultural responsive content to share with the kids? They have that background. So also we do have a observation. So if people teacher using DRDP, we do have tips for them to do observation. So that I know like many admins are curious. Okay, DRDP 2025, there will be a lot of direct assessment, but there will be partially still observational based assessment, especially for social emotional learning and approach to learning, those 2 domains. But here are the tips building for them. Hey, what do you mean like a working memory, right? What do you mean like a curiosity? I want to observe a child with curiosity. How should I do that? So just give you a points, right, where a teacher can connect the dots. When they teach, they prepare this, right? When they teach, they can observe. They just understand the standards, but they can also understand the assessment. But we also have at home. So it's a very short, and that's show like how we can support like teacher to do to learn the new foundation. And also I want Daniel to share like actually we do have a very big very good thing for all the California UPK educators. It's our competition.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Gene. Yeah, I think we're a little, we have like a minute left, so really quick. We would like to encourage you to go to this. I'm gonna put it in the chat so everyone can jump into the website. It's the PTKLF Magic Curriculum Contest. So basically here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you the necessary tools so that you can create your own unit planner and you can have your staff explore the new PTKLF as well. So really easy. All you need to do is go to the website. You can sign up. You can put your work email or use your Google or Apple account. I'm just gonna use my Google account so you can see what that looks like. Once I'm logged in, I can go ahead and create a unit planner. So we're gonna see right here, we're gonna have 3 tries. So you can create up to 3 units, and you're gonna have the exact same tool that Gene was presenting a moment ago. You can create your units. Once you create them, you can go ahead and submit your favorite one. A couple of things to mention. there are going to be 3 winners. The top 3 most voted entries are going to receive $500 each. And just for participating, we're going to give a $15 gift card to the first 100 contest entries. So you can actually visit in the website the contest entries. People are already getting votes. You can submit your own. You can share it in your social media. You can share with your with your staff, with your peers, so they can start voting. And all of these are going to be completely free for everyone to download. You can go and check everyone's submissions. If you like it, if you think it's useful for your classroom, for your teachers, you can always go ahead and also download it, share it with your peers, and vote. So yeah, in less than a minute, that's basically the PTKLF Magic Curriculum Contest. We would like to encourage you to go ahead and participate. It's going to be open from actually from 2 days ago, from October 23rd till February, I believe. All right, so thank you so much. I don't know if you'd like to add anything, Gene, regarding the contest. Sorry.
Oh, I think that's good. So you can send a link, and really it's a really fun experience for a teacher to explore, and admin or coaches. So just try it, and it's very very good. Like Andrea said, Andrea has been helping us validating for the summer, so you can trust her. It's fun. Yeah. Thank you again. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you everyone for a wonderful afternoon. We hope you can have your teacher or yourself to participate. I'd love to hear your thoughts.